You have heard it said time and again, let go, and it will happen. And intellectually, you understand. You know that force only creates resistance. You know that desperation pushes your desire away. Yet, here you find yourself trying desperately to let go. You are working hard at relaxing. You are constantly checking your own mind, asking, have I let go yet? Is this enough surrender? Do you see the great paradox? The more you try to surrender, the more you are actually fighting. It becomes a new form of striving. You say to yourself, I must let go in order to get my desire. And in that very moment, letting go ceases to be freedom and becomes just another technique you must master, another heavy burden you must carry. If this is where you find yourself today, weary from the strain of trying to let go, then rest for a moment and listen. For surrender is not an act of will, but the stillness that comes when the will collapses. It is not something you do, it is what remains when all doing ends. When you rest in that silence, that sacred stillness I call the Sabbath, you discover creation already finished. And in that stillness, you hear within yourself the quiet certainty. It is done. Let us go deeper now, beyond the words, into the quiet movement within you. For only when you touch that stillness can the true act of surrender begin. How do you begin this collapse of will? It begins not with a great action, but with a simple, quiet sensation. The feeling of relief. Relief is the signature of the Sabbath. It is the exhale of the soul. It is the feeling you would have after the problem was solved, after the good news was received. Most men strive for happiness or excitement, but these are often violent emotions. Relief is quiet. Relief is the feeling of it is finished. So, how do you find this feeling? You do not manufacture it. You allow it. Stop, just for a moment. Bring your problem to mind. Feel the tension, the striving, the anxiety. Now, drop the rope. Imagine you have just been told it is all taken care of. You do not have to do another thing. What is that immediate physical sensation? It is not loud joy. It is a wave of quiet, of relief. Do not say, I cannot feel it. You feel it every day. The feeling of taking off tight shoes after a long day, that is relief. The feeling of canceling an appointment you dreaded, that is relief. It is simply the absence of tension. That specific feeling is the open door. But be clear, this divine relief is not numbness. Numbness is despair. It is the feeling of, I give up, it is hopeless. Relief is faith. It is the feeling of, I give up because it is already done. One is the prison. The other is your freedom. Before you seek any other state, first, find only the simple, natural feeling of relief. That is the first step of true surrender. Once you have touched the feeling of relief, you will find it naturally deepens into the second key. This is the state of peace. Peace is the atmosphere of the Sabbath. It is the deep, serene stillness that follows the knowing that the work is finished. But this is the great rock upon which many men stumble. They confuse this divine peace with the coldness of resignation. This is a critical distinction, for one is life and one is death. Resignation or hopelessness is the feeling of, I have failed. It is the cold, empty void of knowing your desire is lost. It is the ultimate acceptance of the 3D world as final. It carries the signature of loss. Peace, the Sabbath, is the exact opposite. It is the warm, full, living stillness of knowing you have succeeded. It is the quiet confidence that comes from already possessing your desire in imagination. It carries the signature of fulfillment. Do not try to force this peace. Like relief, you simply allow it. When you find yourself in that state of quiet, do not question it. Do not disturb it. Simply remain there. Now, within this peace, a third key naturally awakens. This is the state of gratitude. But again, man has corrupted this simple truth. Many of you are using gratitude as a coin, as a tool, as a bargain with the universe. You say, I will be grateful in order to get my desire. But this is not gratitude. This is striving in a holy costume. It is another form of effort, and it implies you do not yet have what you seek. Authentic gratitude asks for nothing. It does not try to get it. It is the simple, quiet recognition of what is. When a friend gives you a wonderful gift, you do not feel gratitude before they give it, hoping to convince them. You feel gratitude after you have received it. The law is the same. You must go into your imagination, appropriate the state, feel yourself in possession of the gift, and then the gratitude arises naturally. That natural quiet, thank you, whispered into the silence, is the proof that you have successfully impressed the subconscious. Relief, peace, gratitude, these are not tools to make it happen. They are the evidence that it is already done. You have found the relief. You have touched the peace. You have felt the gratitude. You have, in essence, entered the Sabbath. You're resting in the quiet, knowing that the work is finished. Now, you must learn to live from this Sabbath. This is the final and most important step. This is the art of walking by faith that we spoke of earlier. Do not be mistaken. Entering the Sabbath does not mean the 3D world stops moving. The old shadows of your former state, the fears, the doubts, the unwanted facts, they will still appear for a time. This is the great test. The 3D world is only an echo. It is the mirror reflecting what you are conscious of, and it often takes a little time for that reflection to change. So what do you do when the contradiction appears? When the bank account still shows lack, or the phone remains silent? Here is the answer, and it is the simplest yet hardest of all. You do nothing. You do not react. You do not fight it. You do not become alarmed. To react is to feed the shadow. To be alarmed is to return to the old state of striving. When the contradiction appears, you simply look upon it without emotion and quietly remember the truth. You'll remember the feeling of relief that once flooded you. You'll remember the stillness, that quiet peace which no circumstance could disturb. And you say to the 3D fact, you are too late. I am no longer that man. The work is finished. This is non-reaction. It is not suppression. Suppression is forcing down a negative emotion that is still a form of fighting. Non-reaction is true neutrality. It is looking at the shadow and knowing it is only a shadow. It has no power to create. Your only work now is to remain faithful to the unseen. Your only effort is to not return to the old state of striving. If you find yourself slipping, do not condemn yourself. That too is a form of striving. You simply, gently return. You return to the feeling of relief. You return to the feeling of peace. You return to the quiet gratitude of knowing it is done. This is the mystery of letting go. It is not one grand act of surrender. It is 1,000 small moments of non-resistance. It is the refusal to give life to anything other than your wish fulfilled. Live from this state, and the world must conform. It has no choice. It is the law. Now, let us go into the silence.